Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. Well, I'm filming this after I made the shortish video-ish about my memberships on the channel, which was me speaking almost at double speed. I don't know if you noticed, I was like, it's like I'd had too much sugar, to be honest. And I know I can be like that sometimes. I can be anything from Ron Dennis to Chris Evans and all points in between. Well, I was doing that because I had intended it to only be a 3-minute video. And of course, once I started talking, you realise that actually the 3 minutes was never realistic anyway. Even speaking, trying to keep it very tight, it would have been at least 5 to 8 minutes, I think, anyway. So that's, if I came across as a bit frantic in my delivery, that is the reason why. Anyway, today, doing a shortish video today, probably going to be about, I think, about half an hour. Something very interesting to show you. Obviously, we have the Tamiya catalogue here from 1973, which my brother-in-law very kindly loaned to me. Now, it has seen better days. It is 53 years old. My goodness, more than half a century old. But we've got that. We've also got to show you the Revell 1974 catalogue, which I think you'll enjoy. Now, this video, I was intending to make this. I haven't. You may see this on the open channel, you may not. I think I will put it on the open channel rather than having it as a members only show, only because I do want to also show you some photographs that have been sent to the channel. I'm going to do this first, basically. So I've had many emails from those of you that have joined as members, and I'm really enjoying this. So we've got, as I requested, I put a call out for you to sort of give me your contact details and introduce yourselves. It's very interesting, it really is. And several of you have also sent me pictures of builds you've done recently. And there's some incredible stuff. And one of the most incredible, I've had 2 or 3 in the last 48 hours actually. And I'm going to show all the ones that, in due course, I'll show all the kits. We'll have like a club night, I'm going to call it. And we're going to basically see all that work. And there's some really good stuff, I've got to be honest. I was like, what? No, you start to feel uncomfortable if you feel that people's skills is higher than your own. So I'll just delete those, like a bad surgeon who buries his mistakes, I'm joking. I'll show them all, I promise. But a lot of you have come forward with some really interesting material. Now, one particular gentleman was Chris Evans. No, not that Chris Evans that I just mentioned earlier. Not the one that's like he's always had too much sugar. Although some of you might recall that I went to school with him because I've talked about him in the past. Yes, that's right, the DJ, and he fronted Top Gear and TFI Friday and what was it called? The Breakfast Show on Channel 4. Its name's completely gone now. With Kelly Brook and Denise Van Outen and all those people. Paulie Yates was on it, wasn't she, as well? He was quite famous, wasn't he, in the 90s and the 2000s. And I not only went to school with him, he was in my classroom, my form at school, for about 18 months. I think he arrived about mid-1980. And if some of you think I'm a bit buzzy and a bit like I've had a bit too much sugar sometimes, that's probably because I had to compete with him at school. And it was the only way of getting myself heard was to be as loud and as outrageous and as flamboyant, shall we say, as he was. And of course he went on to... I actually ended up working with him. I'm digressing now. I ended up working with him at a supermarket during the summer holidays, both working at Fine Fair as it was. It became Asda, and he wasn't that popular. Anyway, I'm not going to go into some of the stories. I think I may have told 1 or 2 of them already. There are some funny stories about him. I'll tell them. Why not? Because I think you'll enjoy this. They used to, some of the lads in the warehouse, because I was very shy then. I wasn't like I am today, really. My personality was quite introverted, and I found it hard work. And there's a lot of lads, big beefy lads, who work in there, workman types that don't take any nonsense, take no prisoners. And I don't think they found me amusing, I think, in some respects. But Evans was just like, I think he was almost like, I wouldn't say a figure of fun, because that wouldn't be fair, but because he was so kind of loud, and he looked a bit like Beaker from the Muppets then, more so than he does today, perhaps. And I think they picked on him a little bit. And there was an incident I remember. I hope he doesn't sue me for this. True story, I promise you. An incident I remember where one of the lads, I can remember this guy's face. He was quite a rough type, you know. He was all right though, but he was a bit rough around the edges. And he shouted as I was finishing. I was literally walking out the warehouse, taking off my overall, as Chris Evans was walking. He said, "Oh, Pete, are you all right? Yeah." And one of these lads shouts, "Oi!" And they used to call him a couple of nicknames. One of them I can't mention, but one of them was Duracell. And they shouted, "Oi, just catch this box. I'm just going to drop you this little box. Just make sure you catch it." It's only about this big. And he said, whoa, what is it? Oh no, it's just some pasta, you know, it's just a box of pasta. But I can't climb down and I take the box on me, but I can't climb down from the racking. And the health and safety was almost non-existent. You know? They did have some like stairs and things, but it was high up. Anyway, long story short, they dropped this box and it contained Heinz beans. I think it was the big beans. I think it was 9 Heinz beans. Well, it's like dropping a bloody anvil, you know. And he just collapsed in a heap on the floor to roars of laughter, you know. And this was the sort of japes they used to get up to. And I mean, he gave as good as he got. Don't worry about it. You know, he wasn't really particularly bullied or anything like that. But it was just one or two incidents like that I remember. So I worked with him briefly, and then yes. Anyway, I'm not talking about him today. We're talking about the other Chris Evans, the good one. He'll like me saying that. But he has got some very interesting material which I want to share with you, which a lot of you are going to find interesting. And it's probably because of these photographs that I'm probably not going to put it behind the membership sort of wall, paywall, some of you might consider it. And it's to do with the Heinkel He111. So you saw me do my big review. God, that was a long review because there's a lot of plastic in the box, of course, huge kit. The border models, 135th Heinkel He111. And it's been interesting to see the feedback from people. One of you comments I've had, which I think summed it up quite well, and he said two sort of comments from two different people. And one of you said, "I'm so pleased that you took the trouble when you were showing us the clear parts, and you said they weren't good, because like I said, I could tell on the viewfinder. I thought, you can't see that. I don't think they can see that. And sometimes that's certainly true with clear parts. Generally, if there's a fault, it's very, very difficult sometimes to get it to actually show on the camera so that you can actually pick up. Sometimes you might see a bit of it and think I'm exaggerating, and I certainly wasn't. There was also a few, you may have picked up on this, there was quite a few scratches and weird stuff like that going on, but anyway. And it wasn't scratched in transit, it was something from the factory, you could tell. Maybe even it's the mould, I don't know, but this gentleman said, it's great when you move the white box across and then suddenly it like jumped out at you, these floors. And he said, thank you for persevering, actually showing us so graphically, without any argument, you know, that what I was saying was accurate, and it was deceptive almost. If you just casual glance, you know, and the other guy said, yeah, most reviewers would have just glanced over this and said, yeah, they're okay, yeah, they're not the best, but they're all right. Well, they're not all right, are they? Pretty awful, to be honest. Even Stuart, the owner of the kit, and that's Stuart with an E, by the way, E-W, as in Rod Stewart, not the other way of spelling it. One or two of you I think got a little confused. But even he said that he thought I was a bit generous. It's difficult, isn't it, when you're in my shoes, because I don't want to say, what a load of crap. It wasn't a load of crap, that would be very much too harsh. But it was very compromised with those clear parts. And even he said, I think it's an 8.5 at best, Peter, and I think he was right, really. But it's somebody else's property, and he's just paid £200 for that set that was in that review. Just shy of £200. Wow, you know. And somebody else said, your Mosquito cost that sort of money, and they're not comparable, are they? You know, the Mosquito has flawless clear parts, and you know. So yeah, they've got a way to go. But anyway, the other comment was from the other gentleman who didn't like the canning effect, the old canning effect on the fuselage and the wings, and he said that's so over the top. He said it's good that they've done it, but it's so overdone. It looks like it's quilted, you know. Now here's where we come back to Chris Evans. He, because people were talking in the chat saying there are no He111s left out there in any museums. Now, I think there might be one or two in America, but there is one in Europe because there's one at the Oslo, Museum, the War Museum, and Chris Evans has been there and taken some photographs, which I'm going to share with you now. So I just want to get into this because I think this will be very helpful for you to see what the actual aircraft looks like. So let's just zoom you in and see what you think of this. He's taking some really super pics here. I'll try and make sure I can do them justice if I can. Yeah, try to. So, get a bit closer. Now you're getting the picture, aren't you? So, you can certainly see here, also by the way, it's got the torpedo, which I think this is the aircraft they probably scanned, border. So you can certainly see that there is this canning effect. Whether it's as extreme as what they've shown, I'm still not convinced. But we'll look at the other photographs. You can see certainly underneath the leading edge there, it's there. It's visible. You know, it's good that they've done it. Oops. No. I don't want to delete that, thank you. I nearly deleted it then, oops. I need that. By the way, if any of you want this photo to be emailed to you, just drop me a line, mrmatchboxes@gmail.com, and I'll actually send you the photo so you can see it in more detail. And then you can play with it and highlight it and stuff like that. In fact, we could do that now, couldn't we, I think? Could we? Yes, we probably could. But just line it up a bit. It may just be that... That's not a criticism of the photograph. My iPad always seems to be very, very dark in its images. It always seems to darken images. Now you can see it though, can't you, there? So, yeah. Interesting. Interesting. So that's the first picture. Then we've got... here we go. So, those clear parts are a little bit better, I think. But it's true that they're never going to look perfect. I mean, the thing's 80 years old, you know. Now here, again, you can see some... You can see a little bit of canning effect. Get a good shot of the exhaust there, don't you? That's nice. That's pretty cool. And then the really interesting photos come toward the end. First of all, look at the glass house. So now we've got it. Look at this. Yes. What about that? That glass work looks pretty clear to me. I've got to be honest. It doesn't look like a border version. But it's quite useful to have these as reference photos, isn't it? And you can see how the bubble at the front is clearly a different type of perspex or glass. I think it's certainly perspex for sure, of some description. Whereas it might actually be glass here, I'm not sure. It's obviously before the days of polycarbonate and stuff like that. It's quite useful to see that. You see how it's discoloured, it's much more yellowy, which tells you it's a different, probably perspex, and it's probably more susceptible to UV. And then the last shot, which is particularly useful, is this one. Now you can see here the canning effect on the fuselage. You really can. And you can see it. Let me just lift this up a bit more. And you can see it. You can see it there. Yeah. Definitely see the rippling, can't you? Even under those windows here, it's definitely evident there. Yeah. And you can see it here as well on the flaps. Yeah, it's there. It's definitely there. There's no question that they've observed it well. Without it, it would be wrong. I think it just comes down to. Let's just zoom that back. I think it just comes down to how much of this you think is appropriate, really. I think they overdid it a bit. I think the simplest way of describing it would probably be to say, for my eye, and you've got to bear in mind it's very hard to assess what this would look like when it's actually the finished model, and this is the challenge we always have as models, isn't it? Once you start putting primer down, you're going to tone it down slightly. And I think I mentioned in the review, I said don't go light with the primer, just put it down good and thick, to be honest. Good heavy coat of primer, or maybe a couple of coats, maybe a couple of coats of paint on top. That will, you know, temper it down a bit and make it look a bit less extreme. Because I do think that it's too heavy. If you're like me and you're fairly light with your painting, you don't like to go in too heavy. And if you use a very light primer and just a light coat, I think it's going to be very, very extreme looking. So I think they have overdone it at border. I think that I get the impression looking at those photographs that they've gone a little bit OTT with it. Maybe they think they had to do that because of what I've said about priming and painting. Perhaps they're aiming for it to look right at the end, but it does depend on your technique and what you use, doesn't it? Useful photographs though. So if any of you want, I'm sure Chris is fine with this because he said you can use them. Any of you want those photographs, email me and I'll send them on to you. if any of you are building that kit, or any Heinkel He111 for that matter. I'm just trying to remember on the ICM kit whether that had any canning. I don't think it did, not from memory. It's certainly not like board drum, which is pretty extreme if we're honest. Right, I'm going to get to the Tamiya. I think it's trying to fall over, isn't it? Let's get straight into that. So the Tamiya catalogue. This is going to be a bit tricky because it's quite delicate and it's seen better days. But it's interesting, isn't it? So you've got here the Hawker Harrier in 48 scale, which of course ended up being not modified enough to become the Sea Harrier, which is why it got criticism later as a Sea Harrier version. But I do like the way that Tamiya, show these things. So you've got the full catalogue there. You've got Jackie Stewart and his Matra Formula 1 car. Oh, sorry, it's Jean-Pierre Baltoise, beg your pardon. And you've got some of the classics you can still get today, like the 88mm flat gun. You've got the KV-1 Russian tank and a BMW R75. The Sowin, that's that the torpedo bomber for aircraft carrier boat, Japanese aircraft, which has got, is it 4 or 5 crew members? It's almost like it's like they're in a fairground ride to me. They all sit one behind the other in tandem, don't they? And then you've got the battleship Yamato at the bottom, so it's quite an impressive setup. Got a sabre there as well, haven't we? So let's have a look then. Try to be careful. This is completely separated, so I might as well just move it aside. There's also these 100th kits. Now what's going to amuse you with this is I've got the price list as well from 1973. So I'll do that at the end, because otherwise it won't really have the perspective of start reading prices off now. So I'll put the price to one side for a second. Let's take a look at this, and I'll try and walk you through it as best I can. So bear with me, because it's not entirely integrated, you might say. So here we've got, I think this is the Matra. Is it the Matra? No, it's the Tyrrell. No, it is the Matra. Yeah, so Jackie Stewart's teammate was Baltoise, but then I think, is it the Tyrrell? Oh, that's what's confusing me. They've got the Tyrrell on the page. Okay, so this is the Matra that Jackie was driving before he joined Tyrrell. Although I think Ken Tyrrell bought the Matra team, didn't he, in actual fact, and it became Tyrrell. Became a bit more professional, a bit more reliable, a bit more race winning. And you can see here that they do these nice artworks. And you can see here you've got Jackie Stewart there. And then here, let's just put some light on here. Just give me a second, I need to put the lights on. There we go, oh, that's better, a bit more light. So you've got Jackie Stewart, you've got the Tyrrell in plan view. And then you've got Francois Sever, who sadly was, of course, horribly killed in a very, very nasty accident at Watkins Glen in 1973, wasn't it? In the final race, where he went under the guardrail and got decapitated. I'm afraid, awful. And Jackie Stewart had already won the World Championship, and he was going to win the final race. And they pulled out of the race, didn't they? And that was that. And Stewart had secretly decided to retire from Formula 1 at the end of the race, hoping to win it. And sadly, he had to retire, then announce his retirement on the spot because the team was going to withdraw. Very, very, very sad. Another one of those horrible accidents in Formula 1 in the 70's, which was all too common in the 60's and 70's. Come to that, it was a really tough time. Anyway, moving on, we've got the Datsun Safari car here. Look at this. This is when Tamiya used to have the figures as well for it, look. So it's got steering system, hollow rubber-like tyres, full set of rally equipment on the interior. Wow. Oh, that's definitely separated. This is the back page. Just going to... oh, I am. Now this I missed, okay. This is the back, let's look at that. So this is the reverse of the catalogue. And here you've got the Lotus 49, which of course was the first, I think I'm right in saying, was the first monocoque type racing car, where they bolted the engine to the, there was no separate chassis, they bolted the engine to the monocoque directly here. So it became a unitary construction monocoque chassis. Over here you've got your Sheridan tank, the M551. Of course this they recently retooled in 2020, was it? 2019 there, give or take a year. Very recently they retooled it, and it's beautiful, that is. I'm going to build that. That's Sheridan for sure. And then there's one or two very interesting things. You've got a Kawasaki Hughes helicopter here. Just there. We've got a Hayate fighter, Japanese fighter. And then we've got an ME-163B Comet. But this is at 100th scale. Because they have this 100th scale, which I haven't seen for a while. I don't know if they still do them at all, to be honest. I'm a little bit out of touch. I haven't seen them in the shops, 100th scale Tamiyas, but I have seen them previously, certainly. And then you've got your Panther medium tank, but this is 25th scale. This is a really big one. So those I've seen more recently, the 25th scale set. So they did some interesting, unusual scales, did Tamiya. And you've got your German semi-track. And then the Japanese carrier Taiho. I don't remember that one. Taiho? Was that sunk in the Battle of the Coral Sea? I can't remember. It wasn't at Pearl Harbor, I don't think. Anyway, going back to this. So there's your Datsun, and then we've got Honda, the Honda F1 car, of course, when the Honda have their own complete car. The Ferrari 312B, driven by Jackie Hicks and Mario Andretti. There's Mario. Talking about him the other day, weren't we? When we were talking about Mansell. And then you get your Lola, very much like you saw in the Steve McQueen Le Mans film, several of those. And then the Porsche Carrera. Yeah, some beautiful kits there, actually, 12 scale. And you got your 16 big scale motorbikes. All very nice, very nice. And then they've got the monkey bike. The Dax ST70, it's a monkey bike, isn't it? Yeah. And then we've got the CB754 racing bike. Of course, they've more recently had the RC166, which I built myself. But they're nice kits, these. Anybody will tell you that's built one of these what lovely kits they are. Even these older ones, you know, like the Honda or the police type Honda there. And I'm here because it's the 75 BMW, isn't it? Is it? Yeah. Yeah, BMW 75, the famous one. Very nice, classic kit. Some more cars. We've got various Can-Am style ones, not really my cup of tea, but Can-Am cars, and we've got a little Honda N360 and a Dune buggy. Dune buggy, look at that. That's cool. A Subaru R2. And then you got all the armour. Don't care for the way they present it, if I'm honest. I don't like this. First it's in black and white, but I don't think the format suits the black and white very well. But anyway, they're all there, aren't they? Chieftains, King Tigers, you know, how long that's been around for. Wow. And over here you've got your M36's Tiger, yeah, Panther. That's the one that I've got in my cabinet, in fact, this one. Absolutely fantastic. Centurions, post-war, Sheridan, Leopard there. Yeah. Then we've got a bit of colour again, which is nice. You see the flirting with colour, can't you? Here's the famous flak 88mm gun. Complete with the half track. Which has a nickname which I can never remember for some reason. I'm sure lots of you will be shouting at the screen now. Dutch semi-track they call it. But it's a nice set. I mean, you can still pick this up today, and it's only about, well, if you get the 88mm gun on its own, I think it's about £17 or £18, isn't it? It's quite cheap. And then you get your Walker Bulldogs and your Shermans and all your regular tanks that we're very familiar with. And these, again, are old tools, but they're absolutely brilliant. And then we've got some colour call-outs talking about paint camo. So for Panther, then a Scout car, semi-track, Jagd Panther, Shermans, KV1, BMW R75. I've got that, of course, with my Tiger tank in the Ardennes set. I'm sure you've seen it, where the motorcyclist dispatch rider is shouting instructions to the tank commander. And then we've got the 25th scale, which like a cutaway here. I don't think they were cutaway, were they? Some of the older ones amongst you may have built this kit. I didn't actually ever get into 25th scale, a bit big. Or AKA a bit expensive, I mean. Right, it's not the size that would put me off when I was younger, I don't think. And then you've got all your traditional popular ones like the Chieftain, and your T-34, 85, Tiger, your Chieftain, and the German Panther, there we go. Young Panther as well. They're all here, aren't they? Very nice. And then there's some blurb, a few of the ones where they're just showing a picture really, and then we get into the aircraft. Now it starts off with this 100th scale, which I mentioned earlier, which is quite a nice scale really, especially for youngsters. Well, especially when you get something bigger like the B-52 Stratofortress. At 100th scale, that's relatively manageable, but it's still quite a kit. Not cheap either, I don't think. That's, even at that scale. And then it moves on to the 48th scale. Here's the Harrier that I mentioned, which ended up morphing into the Sea Harrier. And it's not, as a Harrier, GR Mark 1, it's not actually bad. I don't think it's a bad kit really. Not their finest, but it's when they made it the Sea Harrier and they did one or two of the measurements wrong and they got the cockpit wrong and they sort of based it too much on this, as though they didn't have access to any proper blueprints or they couldn't measure it up properly. And then you've got the Frank, the Japanese fighter. You've got a Little Bird Hughes OH-6 here. Sorry, a Cayuse, yeah, a Little Bird in it. And then you've got a Zero fighter. And then you've got quite a lot of the Japanese carrier aircraft here. This is for the home market, very much so that. And then again you've got the Japanese naval ships. And they do these quite well. I'm no expert on naval ships though, let's be honest. And I am told by those who know that it's they can be a bit fiddly and not always the most accurate. They're quite old tools, of course. Look at that Vosper patrol boat. A British style one, isn't it? That Vosper. And then you've got some of these famous Verlinden. I'm pretty sure it's Francois Verlinden's work here. I don't know if it says anywhere. Fairly confident it is. Where they're doing like these almost like mock-ups of a photograph. Diorama scenes that have been modelled. Really good. And that's it. So let's have a talk about prices. So you've got a bit of a feel for what it was like in '73. Certainly on things like the Formula 1 cars, it was before they really broke out into the more glamorous stuff. So obviously in the mid-70s they got into the Lotus, John Player Special Lotus and things like that came out. And then later you got things like the Williamses and the Brabhams and the Ferrari 312 T4 that came out as well. But let's talk about prices then. This'll make you smile, I'm sure. Right, so 35th scale figures. Ready for this? Figure sets, which are generally 4 figures. So German tank crews, 28 pence. US Army infantry, 33 pence. I mean the tank crews are slightly cheaper because they haven't got any weapons, so there's less plastic. German parachute troops, 33 pence. In fact, they're all 33 apart from the tank crew. So that's what they cost for a figure set. And then the 12th scale car kit. So let's take the Tyrrell Ford, the Jackie Stewart Tyrrell Ford. It was in 1973. It was £5.99, which is quite a lot of money actually in 1973. I mean, my pocket money would have been 55p to 60p, something like that. Maybe 65p a week. Enough to buy a Matchbox kit, clearly. And that would even buy me a Matchbox orange kit every week. So I wasn't doing too bad, but you can see that this was a lot of money, so it's 10 times that, Which is right, really, isn't it? Big kits and lots of detail. The Ferrari, the driver figure was 35 pence in 12th scale. And the Lola, the Le Mans Lola was the expensive one, because that's got the lift-up hatch and all the engine detail underneath. That was £8.80p, which is a lot of money then. Excuse me. If you know something coughing and spluttering, I went out with one of my friends the other night and he said, "Good God, you sound like you've got COVID." We're having some very strange weather in the UK at the moment. It is amazing, actually. Just the temperature's going right up. Last week we had a day on Wednesday which was like a proper midsummer's day. It was boiling, actually. It was 26 degrees. Well, it's boiling for where I live. Not if you're in Australia, though, or South Africa, I'm sure. But it was really warm here. And then the next day it went to something like 3 degrees. 3 degrees. We averaged 23 degrees Celsius. And it's playing absolute havoc with my asthma. So please don't be concerned if you hear me coughing and spluttering. Once the weather settles, the problem will go away. That's what always happens. Right, carrying on then. Motorised car kits. These are the smaller ones, 18 scale. £3.30 they were. But the little mini cars, that little Subaru and that little Honda, like a little two-person car, they're cheaper. They're just £1.99. Okay, moving on. The motorised. Oh, sorry, the 25th scale, the Tiger with the full interior detail, £6.99. And if you got the remote control version with 2 motors, which I think my brother had, it's £8.80. This sounds great, doesn't it? But when you think, when I was getting 55, 60p pocket money, yeah, it was totally out of reach, wasn't it? Even 10 weeks it was out of reach. If I starved myself and had no more fruit salads and sherbet dips and all that kind of thing, no sweets, because of my teeth. I think 1973 was the year when I had big problems with my teeth. The only year I had huge problems, and it was a combination of just being that age. So I was about, about 8, and I had 7 teeth out in one go, and actually I think 5 of them were actually, 3 of them were loose anyway, were coming out. They were like almost like baby teeth, really. It was just getting to that age where the proper teeth were coming out. And I had an abscess in 2, and then I think there was some decay in another one. So most of them were coming out anyway, and they just took them all out. And I was like, can you just imagine? I was a bit like Zach Polanski, the leader of the Green Party, political party in the UK. You've seen his teeth, haven't you? Wasn't into politics. Anyway, moving on. So anyway, I did buy sweets, obviously. So moving on, we've got the 25th scale tanks, and again, they're typically T34 because it's smaller, £4.99. The one, the Panther with the 4 figures, is £6.99. And the Centurion tank was the dearest at £8.99. And then the one that has 2 motors and remote control were priced a lot higher, at £7.70 and £8.80 for the Tiger. I think it's repeating itself there, actually. And then we move on. So your average price for your 35th scale, and these are all motorised, they used to come with a motor. The average price is around about £2.50 for your average tank, like your King Tigers, or smaller one like a Sherman or a T34, £1.55. The M551 Sheridan was £2.50. Armoured vehicle, £6 a gun. That's the little £6 set, 75p. That was almost affordable by me, but still out of reach, so I still had to have my Matchbox. Oh, God forgive you. Nothing wrong with Matchbox, what am I saying? much lower stakes with Matchbox. If you mess it up, you can always buy another one. God forgive you. If I mess up a Matchbox kit, there's too much of this. You all pay for this. Don't fail me again, Admiral. Anyway, moving on. You've got the VW Swimwagen amphibious Jeep at 75p. What else? It's on the next page. Let's get onto the aircraft. So, 100th scale, this small scale that we talked about. Let's start at the top. The Stratofortress, which at 100th scale is still this big. It's big. It's as big as the Vulcan in 72nd scale. And it comes out at, you ready for this? Drum roll. Oh my lord. It's £4.80. So that's like a birthday present, you know. They come in quite a big box as well. Then the regular stuff like your Corsairs and your Skyhawks, Mirage, little jet fighters, they're coming out at 39 pence because they're quite a small, manageable kit, aren't they? So it's not much dearer than... So they've priced it between Matchbox, if you think about it, Matchbox at 72nd scale, and they've priced it between the purple range and the orange range. And then it's got the Buccaneer 60p, which is about roughly the same as an orange range 72nd scale, so not sure you'd go for that really. Doesn't seem great value. They seem expensive relatively, don't they? But it's the quality, isn't it? Huey Cobra 39p, F86 Sabre 75 pence, Messerschmitt 262 or Messerschmitt 262 and Messerschmitt 163 twin pack 75p. That's quite cool. Ooh, I didn't know they came as a twin pack. And then it goes on, so the Japanese fighter ones, they're all single engine fighters, are all 39 pence. 75p for the 50th scale. Oh, 50th scale. Sorry, the ones I said were 39p were all 72nd scale. So again, you can see that that's between the prices of Matchbox and Matchbox Purple and Orange range. It's kind of right, really. I think it's not crazy. And then they've got these 50th scale, bigger scale kits, 75p, or £1.30 for the dive bombers, the bigger ones. And then we move on, motorised cars. You've got the Fair Lady, the Datsun £2.70, which is motorised, don't forget. Rico veteran car kits. These are the old ones, old Woolsies from 1904 and stuff. $2.99 to $4.99 they are. Rico motorcycle kits. Here we go. So this is the 16th scale, 6th. Big one. I said 16th before. That was now a 6th scale. I mean, because they're really quite big. The Dax Honda. That's the monkey bike. £3.80. CB50. A whopping. That's a big bike though. £8.80. Okay. And then you've got your. There's the BMW. Not listed in that scale. What is that? What is that? Where's the BMW? Surely that's an error. I'm thinking the BMW will be £8.80. I'm sure it will be because it's the same as the other. The racing version of the Honda CB750 is also £8.80. Battleship Yamato motorised at 250th scale was £15.90. I mean, that's a lot of money then. That's a fortune, frankly, 1973. You're not going to get that for even for your birthday. You might get it for Christmas. Don't know. Stingy my parents were. No, they weren't really. Rico novelty kits. Car Ferry. Phoenix motorised. £11.99. That's a lot of money. Locomotive kits, £6.90. Railway wagons, £1.25. Here we go into the aircraft kits now, the serious stuff. So we've got 1/144 scale. They're priced around £1.35 to £2.55. Half tracks, motorised half tracks, 65p. Lindbergh, they're also selling. They've got the price here because this is the Richard Constant Rico. They call themselves. They're also an importer for Lindbergh from America. They've got some Lindbergh items there. Thunderbolt 45p, Hawker Hunter 75p, Messerschmitt 262 75p. Yeah, they're all 75p apart from the Vulcan and the Heinkel He111, £1.50. Jeez. So where's the 48 scale then? Have I missed something? I must have missed something. 100th scale, 70th, 50th scale. I'm not seeing the price for things like the Harrier. Where is that? Oh yeah, I missed it. There it is. Hawker Harrier, 48 scale. They put it with the Japanese fighters for some reason. £1.99 it was, 48 scale. Quite expensive, really. Relatively. You know. Very detailed though. Anyway, there we go. That's Tamiya, 1973. Did I miss anything you wanted to hear about? Some of the combo kits and things that you've already seen, so I think that's it really. Interesting prices though, weren't they? Very interesting prices. So that's Tamiya. Let us now have a look at Revell. Back to the cheap seats. Oh. Let's have a look then. It's a year later, 1974. Let's zoom you in. So, yeah, and we're not talking about the same quality here, but we again have a price list somewhere. Where is it? There it is. So, again, I'll come back to that. But I have to warn you with the Revell, it's damn confusing because they call them 600 series aircraft, 55 series, 110 series, and it means nothing at all, frankly. And I do find it quite hard to cross-correlate them. So we might struggle. I think, well, okay, I can do it. We won't go to the same details with the Tamiya. Let me give you a guide here because it's much easier to follow, actually. So the 600 series must clearly be 72nd scale. Because I can tell by, it reads almost like the Series 1 Airfix or the purple series on Matchbox. And they're 25p, so they're about the same price as them as well. And then there's a 144 series, which is 16p, which is good value. So it's almost like if you've got little brother and big brother, you know, you can imagine how you can give them one each and not break the bank by giving the little brother the smaller kit. Then you've got jet set aircraft, this is jets at 72nd scale, and you've got things like the Saab Viggen, and they're 55p. And then you've got the Phantoms. Think of this as Matchbox orange range because it sounds the same pricing and the same sort of kit. Phantom, Corsair, JU88, Super Sabre, Corsair 2, Jolly Green Giant, Bronco, Hughes Cayuse, Little Bird, Douglas DC-9, 60p they all are. And then going up a scale, so now think again of Matchbox because this is probably the closest competitor. Think of the red range, and you'll hear similar names. B26 Marauder, so that'll be 72nd scale. JU88, SAS Caravel, P3 Orion, B29 Super Fortress, 75p they are. Well, the Super Fortress sounds cheap, whereas the Marauder seems expensive at the same price, doesn't it, really? Anyway, we'll have a look in a minute. Catalina, this is going up now. This is like your green range, is it? Green range? No, brown range. Matchbox, they call it S5 series. I mean, meaningless stuff this, it's very strange. And they have things like Flying Fortress again, makes no sense. That's a Super Fortress. Hang on a second, that doesn't make any sense, does it? Super Fortress versus a Marauder at the same price. I think they've scaled that down. I think that's 1144. But anyway, just for the big one, I mean. Then you get, a Liberator. Yeah, this is like the brown range in Matchbox. Liberator, Dambuster Lancaster, Lancaster Mark 1, Catalina, Lockheed SR71, Fortress, etc. £1.10 they are. S5 series. I find it very hard to follow. It's not easy. Big 32nd scale. Okay, so this is competing with Matchbox. And it's this is when, actually the year that Matchbox were designing their 32nd scales, because they came out in 75, didn't they, I think? 75, 76. Thereabouts. Focke-Wulf 190, 32nd scale. Hurricane, Messerschmitt 262, Huey Attack, Chopper, Typhoon, Tropical Hurricane. Typhoon, I had that kit, and this was £1.80, this set, this range. It's quite expensive. Included the Thunderbolt, Stuka, Huey Cobra, Huey, and the Corsair. Oh, very good, okay, so that's that really. And then moving along, and it goes on a bit, it's so hard to understand why they couldn't have made it clearer and called it, like Matchbox or Airfix. Matchbox, Airfix. Purple range or Series 1, simple, okay? 72nd scale, you know where you stand, this is all over the place. Anyway, Small ships, medium ships, Art Royal £1.10. Small ships 70p. Small ships, Prince Eugen. I thought that was a small ship, but anyway. And then motorcycles in 8th scale are £3.95. Harley Davidsons, things like that. 12th scale versions of the motorbikes is £1.55. So why is that? Okay, yeah, so it is a bit cheaper, isn't it? Yeah, okay. And then you got cars, Porsche 911, I think a 12 scale, Porsche 911, XK, Jaguar, Datsun 240, all at £1.40. It's amazing, isn't it, really? Anyway, well, I think we'll leave it at that because I think you get the flavour. Let's have a look at the actual contents now. Enough of me sitting and waffling and just depressing myself looking at these prices. Buttons, wasn't it? Well, it wasn't at the time. Everything is relative, of course. Revell's new 3-in-1 kits. And that bit extra, 3-in-1. Kit makes one of 3 versions. Oh, I see. Okay, well, this is only what Matchbox were doing. So this is what was happening. You can actually see here what was actually happening in the market. Remember, Matchbox came out with their purple and orange ranges, where you had a choice of 2 marking options, and then on the red range they would have a choice of 3. So what I think these guys are trying to do is they're trying to get a steal on Matchbox. Matchbox have got much better quality at this time, far better artwork, far more accessible. They're selling them everywhere, in the post office, the news agents, you name it, Woolworths, everywhere else. Although I think Woolworths was no, I think I might be wrong, I think that was mainly Airfix, and it was a deal, wasn't there? I'm not sure Matchbox were in Woolworths at that time. Anyway, so these guys are offering you a third scheme, third version of everything. 190, you've got 3 P40s, 3 190s, 3 109s, 109Es, and 3 Corsairs. I'll show you a bit closer. So this is what they're trying to do to fight back. And what did we say they were? 25p. They're actually a little bit more expensive because Matchbox, when they came out, were 20. Somebody told me that when they first came out that they were 17p in some places. But when I first saw them, they were 23p. And I've actually got some of my Matchbox secret stash that has 23p actually on it. And here we got on the back, same again on the back, big value, 3-in-1. Yeah, they're trying to convince you that they're the better buy, you're getting more for your money. But I'm not sure it was really working, because the truth is, I'm not trying to make Matchbox out to be some panacea, but compared to Revell, they absolutely kick their butt, yeah. Certainly in the UK, I mean, I can't speak for the world. Places like America, no, that's for sure, but certainly in the UK. Revell, Airfix took a beating, and Revell took a hell of a beating because they just weren't up to the mark, really, were they? They were already a sort of an outlier, a bit of an outsider, as it was. Now here's where we're getting something a bit controversial for me. It wasn't at the time. It's the Harrier. Now have a look at this 32nd scale Harrier. Did we decide how much that was? I think we said it's £5.99, didn't we? Did I say that? Harrier, it was the one that was in with the Japanese planes, wasn't it, on the pricing? Oh, where is it? I'm looking. I've lost it. Was it £1.99? I think it was £1.99. If memory serves me. Jet Set. Hawker Harrier. And I'm thinking of it on the Tamiya price list, aren't I? Where's the Hawker Harrier? Stuka Hurricane. £1.80, £1.99. Yeah, that's right. So anyway, so this why is this controversial then? It's controversial because it's not a great kit. It has to be said, it doesn't go together very nicely. Fairly awful. Very flashy. And this is the kit that was reintroduced in, what year was it now? Was it Telford 20? 22, was it? 21? It was when it was 50 years of the Harrier, and they had this new box art, 50 years of the Harrier. New special edition, I think was the word they used. Well, we all know what that's like, don't we, from Revell. And it wasn't new at all, it was just new box art. It was just the same old kit from 1970. Nasty. Could you? How could you? Have they got no conscience? I hope they've stopped doing that. I think they have now, in fact. Don't want to be too harsh on Revell, because I think they are turning a bit of a corner and things are improving there. But they certainly need to, because their reputation is probably the worst of all the model manufacturers. For charlatanism, frankly. Now I'm showing you this one because I had this kit and I bought it in a bit later in 1976, I think. Late 76. I remember I got it in the summer and I made an absolute bodge of it. I said to somebody recently in one of my shows when I was accused of not finishing kits and moving on to another which was completely incorrect, and I'm sure that many of you will know what I'm talking about here. I was lumped in with a certain one or two YouTubers who like to start projects and then never finish them. And I said, I've never not finished a kit in my life. Well, that wasn't strictly true, because I was thinking afterwards, thinking, yeah, but that's true in the recent years, when you've come back to it as an adult. When I was a kid, of course, well, you know, all the rules go out the window. And that was one of them, the one that was the Typhoon attacking the train. It wasn't nice, this kit. It wasn't nice. Yeah. It was covered in flash. It was quite warpy as well, as I recall. And I made a terrible mess of painting. I remember I painted for some reason I wanted to paint the spinner duck egg blue, which wasn't the right colour anyway. It was actually sky blue, and I got glue and paint all over the place, blue paint on the carpet. My mum went absolutely ballistic with me. And I can't remember if I put it in the bin or my mum did. Oh dear, in some disgrace. Anyway, enough of my embarrassing history of modelling failures. As an adult, I've never failed to finish one. Anyway, then we've got the Mosquito. Now some of these kits are better than others. They weren't great though, I've got to be honest, they weren't great. They've got the 32nd scale Spitfire. Doesn't even look the right shape to me if you look very closely. Some of these things just look a bit off, don't they? Something about the Spitfire's lines on the fuselage that looks totally wrong to me. And you must recall, you have to bear in mind some Beaufighters there, look. You've got to bear in mind, of course. Oh, hello, did I ever tell you that I once flew in a Spitfire? I did. Oh, I have told you. Okay, let's move on. So you've got, it's an old joke now, isn't it? So you've got the Beaufighter. I'm trying to be funny, it's not working. Beaufighter, which I've never actually had that one, so I can't comment on that one. Can't comment on it. But some of this artwork isn't too bad. Some of the artwork on where they made a bit of an effort was quite good. Look at this one, the ME262. Isn't that nice? That's really cool. Yeah, I like that. And several of these I remember, although I didn't have them, like the Phantom and the FW190D9. Didn't have the 262, but of course they came up with a new tool, didn't they? Was it 2018, 2017, 2018, something like that? And that was quite a nice kit, actually. I gave that quite a good marks, I remember. I said it was a big step up for Revell. Now here's a real nasty one to avoid at all costs, and that's the Corsair. This you can still pick up, and it's only about, I think you can pick it up for about 40 quid. If memory serves, 40, 45 quid, something like that, maybe less. It's awful though, don't bother. Even at 40 quid it's terrible. A real nasty piece of garbage, so don't bother with that. These other ones I can't comment on. Not tried them, to be honest, but the general quality standard then, you've got to, I sound like I'm being a bit harsh here, but Revell weren't a paragon of quality, or nothing really impressive about them at all, but they were just available, And I'm sure if you're in the States, they're probably perhaps the main one that you had access to, quite likely, I think. But it's strange, so you've got 132 scale jets here. So you've got the MiG-21 and you've got the Mirage 3, which on paper sounds really good. 3E. I mean, that sounds epic. I bet it wasn't though. Just hard to know. So here I am, you know, pontificating a little bit, you know. So bear in mind, if some of you have had these kits and have experienced building them, please shout up, you know, I'm fascinated to hear it, really. Which were the good ones of these I've just shown you? Because I don't really know, I've only had a couple of them. And they were very good experiences. Well, they did a lot of these helicopters, which other people really weren't doing, and you know, 32nd scale. It says helicopters, is that 32nd scale? See, again, it doesn't. Where's the reference that matches the price list? There's no reference here. There's no 55 series. What does all that mean? It's very confusing, isn't it? So it's very hard to give you a price on these. Maybe I can actually find it by deduction. Hold on a minute. Helicopters. Anything about helicopters? No. You'd think it would say helicopters. The most sensible way to do it, wouldn't it? Must be here somewhere. Sky Crane, well there's one, so yeah, that must be S5 series then. Sky Crane 258. No, that's a different reference. Yeah, that one. Sky Crane 258. So we found that one, so that one's £1.10. So I think they're all around about that. Sky Crane, Cayuse, the Cayuse, Bellbird, where is that? Oh, here they are. 60p, the smaller ones. They must be smaller scale. Doesn't make it clear there. See what I mean? It's just not terribly clear what they're on about, really. H146. H146. There must be a way. 147, 146. Yeah. So it is. It's 60p. There must be 72nd scale. Oh, I think I might have had that one. The Air Sea Rescue helicopter. That looks very familiar to me. Sikorsky. Now this is a slight controversy, I've just realised. I recently, well perhaps a year ago now, I think I may have slandered Revell, legal action, regarding their artwork for this, the Bell Huey Cobra gunship. And I said, look at them, look at them, look at them. They've copied the Matchbox artwork. It looks alarmingly similar to the Matchbox box art from Roy Huxley. And somebody piped up, and I genuinely don't know whether he's correct or not. And somebody piped up and said, no, it's the way around. This was out in 1971-72, before Matchbox came out. So it's slightly baffling, isn't it? Because it's awfully similar, the angle and everything. It's strange. Anyway, then you get into 172 range. Let's have a look at these now. So you've got 72nd scale. This is right, competing with your Airfix Matchbox ranges now. These are the ones that we said were 129, H129, H129. So these are 60p. 60p, really? Navy Phantom, yes they are. So they're quite cheap. So this is about the same price as your, round about the same price as your Matchbox Red range, the 3-colour range kits. But they do vary a bit. So we said what was that? 213. What was that? 213? Yeah, that's £1.10. So they vary in price depending on what size they are, which is fair enough. Even though the 72nd scale, can't complain there. Dambusters bomb with secret bomb, and you've got your standard B1 Lancaster there. You've got Australian Air Force F111, and over here. Now we're very much into what would generally also be Matchbox Orange range, but it jumps around, doesn't it? You think they'd do them in, like Matchbox did them in sort of sizes of model, rather than mixing up, you know, in one scale, at one price level, mixing them all up together and having a Phantom with, you know, a Flying Fortress. It's a bit strange, that. A couple of Corsairs here. There's your Super Fortress, which we established very quickly was a bit more expensive. 75p. And then you've got more here. You've got your Catalina. And you've got your Phantoms. You've got Flat Bait Marauder there. That's some 2nd scale version of it. And a Bronco. All sorts to go out here. All sorts. You've got Flying Fortresses, Liberator, SR-71, F111. Yeah, quite a good range. We've got some German. Again, they seem to put the Germans together, interestingly. The Ju-88C6, the Night Fighter. The Nachtjager and the Condor, Focke-Wulf Condor. Junkers Ju-88A4, attacking shipping. And then you've got some of the Japanese items, and you've got the Saab Draken, the Delta Wing fighter jets. A Sky Raider as well there. And then it goes into the 1/72nd scale range with all the World War I biplanes and triplanes. And Eindecker as well. Sorry, it's not an Eindecker, it's a Marine Saulnier, French one. French version of the Eindecker. Spads, SE5, Sopwith Camel, Newport 17, Newport 28, DH2, de Havilland, Sopwith triplane, etc. Yeah. And the 72nd scale a bit more. Now we've got the Eindecker, here it is, where my thumb is. And the Fokker D7, Albatross, D111. And then you get into your typical 72nd scale ranges now, which is just the usual stuff. Not Revell's strong area, really. I didn't think so anyway. I never had one of these that made me want to buy another one at the time. Sounds a bit harsh perhaps, but it's all about supply and demand though. If you're in the United States or Canada or somewhere, you probably didn't have much choice, and you probably didn't have access to Matchbox at that time, or maybe Airfix was hard to get hold of as well locally, you know. Revell at this time, of course, were an American company. This is an American organisation, it's not German, you know. So, yeah, it's... I think they were just... it wasn't quite such a global market. The American market and the European market were much more different then. Now it's much more of a global melting pot, you know. It's globalisation for you, if that's a good thing. So there's a difference in quality, that's probably the main reason for it. But some of you may have had great experiences, so please shout up, you know. I'm not trying to knock them, I'm just telling my experiences with these products at that era weren't too strong, really. Which is why my love for Matchbox is so strong. You got all your Japanese fighters here, you got Typhoons and Stukas and Hurricanes, 109 Messerschmitts, all the usual stuff, Thunderbolts. Then 128th aircraft, that's on very unusual. Some biplanes in 128th. Then we've got some interesting jets, including experimental ones, like the Douglas D588. You've got the Vigilante, where my thumb is. Did I have that kit? No, I had the Airfix one, I'm sure. I had the Airfix one. So perhaps some of these artworks are a bit more exciting than they are today. Civilian airliners, you've got jumbo jets, and you've got Airbus, Delta, DC-10 Airbus, sorry, not Airbus like we know today from Europe. The TriStar, British Airways, Caravel, Douglas DC-9, all sorts, isn't there, really? And then we get into zany planes, which are like, yeah, these are the ones that, they're quite fun, these, actually. I've seen some of the guys on the Flory Forum do these, especially for things like the weekend builds, like the turkey shoot in November. They do look quite funny, I've got to say. And then you've got spacecraft for the Apollo missions here. Does it say what scale they're at? It does not say. Spacecraft. Let me just have a look at the price list. Hold on. Let's consult with the price list. Spacecraft. Miscellaneous. Where's the zany plane? You think it'd be there, wouldn't you? No, this is about the worst laid out price list I think I've ever seen, if I'm honest. It's really hard to follow. Spacecraft. I'm not seeing it. Nothing on the back. Oh, it must be here somewhere, surely. No, not seeing it. Give up, never mind. Don't worry about it too much. Then it's got paint and cement, and of course Revell have been doing their own paints and cements for many, many years. Now, Somebody told me that they were testers. Were they actually testers? What paint's in the bottle? Hobby guide. Now this I like. This is good actually. I give them a full credit here. Hobby guide, telling you how to cut things off the sprue, how to glue them, how to hold it together with pegs, how to position and put your decals on. Yeah. How to remove plating on metal parts. How to treat your rigging. And how to coat your galleon sails. Very good. I like that. Then we get to the military stuff. It's like a separator, that advice page, wasn't it? Just go back a bit. Okay. Military guides. We've got V1 bombs and Shermans and all sorts here. Howitzer, 105mm, 1/8 scale motorbikes that we talked of. Oh my goodness. Harley Davidson drag bike. Look at that. That's wild. Choppers. Look at this. This is the area of the 70s. Easy Rider. Yeah. 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 It was Easy Rider. It was what's his name, wasn't it? Dennis, what's his name from Speed and Apocalypse Now? Dennis Hopper? Yeah, Dennis Hopper. Who's the other guy? My brain's gone. I can picture his face, the other actor. Two guys that were Easy Riders. Not Carradine. Anyway, it doesn't matter, just my bad memory getting old. I didn't research it obviously before I came on, but you know the two guys anyway, you've seen that film. Doesn't end well, does it? It doesn't end very well at all. Look at that giant chopper, all glitzy and jeez. Why would you want to ride a vehicle like this? Really? And then we've got some loony funny cars and drag cars and all that kind of stuff. Very much the American flavour. 25th scale, much more serious sports cars. E-Type, Datsun 240, Porsche 914. Yeah, a couple of Porsche 914s and the Porsche 911. Look at that, that's a nice one. That's actually quite a good photo. They're using real photos again. So there we go. There we are. Nice. More drag cars. Crazy. It was all the rage in 74, wasn't it? And then you get your ships and boats. So you got Russian spy ship and you got fishing vessels, harbour tug, Queen Mary there. Queen Mary before she went down in Hong Kong harbour. Which I remember, by the way. I actually remember seeing that on TV. It was on fire, you know, terrible. The Hipper, German cruiser. Looks like it's getting attacked by mosquitoes. King George V, the Tirpitz, Massachusetts, Bismarck, all went down to fiery death, didn't they? USS Defiance, German U-boat with interior. Campbelltown destroyer, the USS Alabama, Prince Eugen. Blucher, the Blucher. That's the one that went up to Oslo and then got sunk, didn't it? By the Norwegians were very sharp, weren't they? They were really on the ball. They blew it to bits, didn't they? As it was going through the Narrows, right next to the fort. I mean, that was suicide what they did. But anyway, hats off to the Norwegians. They did a proper job on it. And they actually didn't just shoot it with the big naval guns. They actually hit it from the fort with torpedoes. Torpedoed it, right? And it was beside them, almost point blank range. USS North Carolina, HMS Ark Royal, listing badly here. USS Pennsylvania, and then what we got the Hornet with the Mitchells taking off from the deck to hit Japan. USS Nautilus, where my thumb is, the submarine. Enterprise, Intrepid. My God, Battle of Leyte Gulf. Wow. The artworks here are really good. In fairness, they've really done it well. USS Washington, USS Wasp, which was used for the Apollo capsules, wasn't it? Gemini capsules. Navy PT boats, what we got here? The Montrose, and the USS Forrestal. Forrestal, of course, heavily involved with the Vietnam War. Had that horrible accident of fire on the Forrestal, where the pilot, later Senator John McCain, was lucky to escape with his life. He was a charmed life, that guy. Jumped out of his Skyhawk. I think it was his Skyhawk had an electrical fault. Set off the Zuni rocket and blew one of the other, I think it was a Phantom blew up the Phantom in front of him that was fully armed, full of fuel, and set half the aircraft carrier on fire. He managed to jump out and survive, and was later captured, of course, unfortunately, only to be abused by President Trump some years later, which was very unfortunate and most misinformed. Let's leave it at that. Anyway, USS Growler there, you got a big submarine. Oh, the USS Patrick Henry with its Polaris submarines. Whoa, nuclear weapons, look at that. Quite fancy one of those on these nuclear kits, actually. If somebody does a good one, I ought to get one, really. USS Flasher, that's an unfortunate name. Mosquito boat. Vosper MTB, British one where my thumb is. That's cool. And then you just got your galleons at the end. Small galleons and large galleons. What we got? HMS Beagle, of course. Charles Darwin's ship of discovery. The Bounty. Mutiny, Mr. Christian. Mutiny! Golden Hind with sails. What else have we got? The Spanish galleon. Jolly Roger pirate ship. Mayflower. HMS Victory with sails here. Not a great kit, I am told. I say I have no experience myself, but I'm told it's not brilliant. I'm not sure any of these are that great, to be honest. But some of you may have better knowledge or different experiences. And then you got sailing ships, the Cutty Sark. That's a wonderful looking ship, Cutty Sark, isn't it? Which of course is down at the docks in London now, permanent display, isn't it? Thermopyle, is that play? I can't pronounce that. Oh, that's interesting. USS Constitution. Yeah, very nice ship indeed. And the Mayflower as well, another nice one. Yeah. And then Yale ships, like this thing that's got like a, you mount it on a piece of map basically, like in a frame. Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. What was the price of those galleons? Let me just check finally before I wind it up for the day. Does it give us a price for the galleons? Small galleons. Okay, so the £1.85. Large galleons £10.95. God, 11 quid for the Cutty Sark. That's a lot of money there. Gosh, it's a lot of money that. Think about what you can get in Tamiya for that. Ooh. Oh, what could we get? Let me just check. Let me just cross-reference these. See what the competition was. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? Just to do a comparison. Back to the ships. £11 for the Cutty Sark, we just said, didn't we? Dum 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 dum. Well, for that you can get a Missouri battleship, motorised. That's 3/50th scale. If you want a 2/50th scale motorised Yamato, that's 16 quid now. That's a lot of money then. If I said to my dad I want that for my birthday, I'd probably got a slap, because that's a lot of money in 1974. It really is. Oof. Wow, wow, okay. So there we have it. Quite interesting stuff, wasn't it, actually? Yeah, I think Revell's brighter and more colourful catalogue is impressive, actually. Catalogue's more impressive than the products are. So what did you think? Interesting to have a little wander down memory lane, a bit of nostalgia with those, I thought. Hope you found it as interesting as I did, and if you've got any of those kits you've built, please do tell us a bit more in the comments or in the chat. Just give us a shout, and be fascinated to hear what your experiences were. I'd like to hear from people with Revell especially. What are the really good Revell, because there's so many bad ones, aren't there? But what are the really good kits that they've done that you've experienced and thought was really good value, and you had a great experience from building it, you know? What are the good ones? I mean, if you said that about Tamiya, it's the other way around. To make it interesting, you'd say with Tamiya, what are the really bad kits? Sea Harrier. Why is it everybody builds a bad Harrier, eh? One of these days our friends at Airfix are going to come up with a Harrier, 48 scale, and they're going to close the book on Harriers. And everybody that tells me that the kinetic one is good, clearly you haven't built it then. Anyway, enough of that for today. I hope you thought it was interesting. I hope you found it interesting to see those photographs of the Heinkel He111. I think we'll call it quits there, and I'll bid you a cheerio. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Most important of all, don't forget to sign yourself up and join Memberships on the channel. Obviously there's lots of benefits. I talked about that the other day. And I think there's a rapidly growing community now. It's great fun to interact with people and see what they've been working on. It's quite enjoyable actually to see other people's work. It's a bit like being on the Flory forum, I suppose, in a small way. But it's enjoyable. I think you'll get a lot out of it. So please do join as a member. We are going to be having some of these where it'll be members only. So those of you that are used to participating, if you haven't signed up to be a member yet, you don't need to sign up to the top level if you don't want to. Just sign up as a $3.99 member. You'll get good value out of it, I'm sure. I'll see you do. And that's it from me. So thank you very much for watching. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Stay well, stay safe. Do a better job of it than I did. And I hope to see you soon. And just a quick one at the end. A quick plug for something very interesting coming up. The latest kit to be released, an all-British venture from DMBK. Some of you may have heard of them. This is a company that is formed by a British guy and a Ukrainian guy. I'll tell you a lot more about them in the near future, but they're just in the process of launching a new range of model kits, aircraft, and it's going to be a Sea Fury is the first kit. It's 40. Is it 48 scale, 32nd scale? My brain's just gone for a minute. It's 32nd scale, I think. Sea Fury. It's absolutely beautiful. I've seen it. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I was very kindly invited to their launch day at Yeovilton, which I was going to go to, but unfortunately, because of this problem with my foot, I'm still in too much pain. I can't sit for long periods. Just sitting here filming this video has put me in quite a lot of pain because the chair won't go as high as I'd like, and it puts pressure on my foot. Anyway, I can't travel. I can't drive long distances, and it's about 7 hours driving. So unfortunately, I just couldn't go. And it's really unfortunate because I am very enthusiastic about this product and this company. It's nothing to do with what they're doing. I couldn't be bothered now. I think I'll regret it if I went along because I've got to get on a bus, and even if I go on the train, I've got to. It's a no-no. I just got to keep resting. So enough of my health update, but I will be giving you a presentation all about them and their product. I'll be showing you a review of this new Sea Fury coming very, very soon. I think you're going to find it absolutely fascinating. And please bear with me and stay tuned because you're going to really enjoy that show, I tell you. Thanks for watching. Till next time, take care of yourself and bye for now.